You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 78, the do's and don'ts of working with a virtual assistant with Trivinia Barber. If you are an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to this episode because you're going to meet our guest, Trivinia Barber. Trivinia is the founder of Priority VA, a boutique virtual assistant agency that matches elite-level entrepreneurs like Todd Herman, my coach, and Ray Edwards with highly skilled assistants who get the online space and come prepared to deliver massive ROI right out of the gate. When listening in on my conversation with Trivinia, you will discover the do's and don'ts for making a VA hire, the key to building and lasting a relationship with your VA, how to get the most out of your VA, how to pull the trigger when your VA is not working out, and so much more. So let's dive right in and meet Trivinia. This episode of Productivity Straight Talk is being brought to you by my signature coaching and training program, Stop the Entrepreneur's Success Solution. To find out more about this special program, head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/stop, S-T-O-P. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk, Trivinia. How are you doing today?
Oh my God, I'm so glad to be here. How are you, Amber?
So great. I am so excited. I was introduced to you through mutual friends. And so we've kind of been in circles around each other. And I just thought, what a better guest to have on the show to talk about virtual assistants and outsourcing and all the things, because I think entrepreneurs get a little anxiety about the idea of hiring and delegating and what that looks like. But there's so much freedom on the other side of that. So let's dive in. Can you just share in your own words a little bit about your company? How do you serve and who's your typical client?
Yeah. So again, Trivinia Barber, I'm the founder of a company called Priority VA. We started about 5.5 years ago after I had been a virtual assistant for a dozen or so years at that point. And really, we serve entrepreneurs who are building high 6-7 figure businesses who are really doing all the things still themselves. And yes, I know for those of you who might have smaller businesses, you're like, wait, you can have a 7-figure business and still be doing all the things. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because people hold on to tasks with a death grip and they won't trust anybody to do the things in their business. But we help those business owners, founders, or CEOs. We work with physicians, with lawyers, with brick and mortar companies, and with online entrepreneurs selling IP who have created courses or podcasts or whatever. And we help them to take the things that they don't know how to do, that they don't want to do anymore, or really they just don't have time to do anymore, so that they can focus on what I say they were created to do. And that typically ends up being a sweet spot that is something. So for me, that thing that only I can do is, well, only I can give this podcast interview, right? Or only you can be the one who's interviewing me at this point. But your assistant can do all the things leading up to that. And then you can pass the baton back to them after this episode's recorded, and they can do all the things after that, right? But sometimes we look at any tasks in our business and we end up saying like, oh, I'm the only one that can do that because I'm the only one that can do the podcast. And so our goal is to shine a light on the things that you don't have to be doing anymore and really illuminate the things that you should be doing in your business. And we've been doing that for 5.5 years. I have a team of 83 virtual assistants all over the United States and Canada, serving clients all around the world. It's pretty crazy to think that 7 years ago, I was making not a lot of money, doing a lot of things to scrape by, and now I own an amazing company. It's pretty cool.
That is amazing. That's a great story. And really, it came out of a vision of being able to help more people, right? Like, so you decided, what is your vision for yourself? How do you level up and serve more people? And the result was you're no longer the VA. You're going to be running this company that has a huge team behind them.
It's funny because I was on a call with a client earlier today and she said, so are you going to be my VA? And I was like, oh, no. I'm sorry, I'm not anymore. But a few years ago, yes, I would have been. But really, Priority VA was born as a result of me needing to be at home with my child. We adopted a child and she had a lot of therapy and I needed to be home. I was still kind of straddling the fence doing corporate stuff and working at home somewhat. And she needed me all the time. So that's really how the whole VA thing came about for me, is that I was like, I have to figure out a way to be at home. And then I got connected with some higher profile clients. And at that point, then people wanted more of my time. And I was like, oh goodness, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm still working 60 hours a week or whatever. The idea of Priority VA was born because what I found was people didn't only want somebody that could like check a box and do a task. What people were really wanting was someone that they could trust. And I felt like I could help them figure out who that person was in their business. So the person that could do the things they need to do, but could also be who you need them to be. Because if we really look at what an executive assistant is for most people, it's their right hand. It's their person.
Yes.
It's their assistant, but also their therapist. It's the person who is like there for them when the super high highs come and the really lows of running a business come. And so I felt like we could provide a space for people where they could get someone they could trust, but someone who could also help them accelerate their business at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So I thought I was the only one that used my EA as a therapist and my go-to right-hand girl. Every staff meeting we have, I have at least 10 or 15 minutes where I recap the good, the bad. All right, let's get in the right headspace. Now let's dive in and do some good work. We literally have our chat every single week that we talk.
That is such a key thing to building a lasting, amazing relationship with anybody that we have in a supporting role on our business. And we use Slack, which for those of you who may not, I'm assuming, Amber, that you've talked about Slack in previous episodes, but it's an online chat communication tool and you can give yourself a title in there. And my assistant literally has the therapist as her title in there because that's what she does. Most of the time, she keeps me sane.
That is so good. Okay, so I am looking forward to diving in. So you said that you shine the light on the things that they should and shouldn't do. What does that process look like? And how does an entrepreneur know, like, what are the first things that should be delegated out?
For every single entrepreneur, it's different. It depends is kind of a stupid answer and no one wants to hear that. But I can give you a little exercise to go through so that you can figure out what that thing is for you. I take a piece of paper and like divide it into 4 columns. And in those columns, put the things that you don't know how to do. So this is the stuff that you maybe have to Google, right? And figure out, okay, wait, how do I connect Zapier with whatever tool it is at the moment? And just jot that thing down. That list can be super short. It could be super long. And then the things in the second column are the things that you just don't have time to do. This is stuff, honestly, that you actually can probably enjoy doing and you know how to do it. For me, these types of things are engaging on social media. I actually like doing it and I'm fairly good at building relationship and community, but it always is last minute back burner thing. Those are types of things that go in the never have time to do column. And then the third column is really the things that you don't want to do. For me, this is anything finance related. I hate spreadsheets. I want to gouge my eyes out when I have to like enter receipts. There's always things in our business. I know how to do it, but I log into Xero and I just get angry. And so like, why do that, right? Because it's just setting me up for failure. The fourth column is really the things that you can do. And once you sort of document that for about a week, if you do that, you'll actually start to see kind of a person emerge off of the paper where you're like, oh my gosh, I really need tech help because it's always the tech that I'm getting stuck on or that I pass off or I wait until the last minute, I procrastinate to do. Or maybe it's very much administrative or systems oriented. You'll start to see a person. And from there, then you start to know the things and then you can dive into the who. And the who is actually probably the most important on my radar of things you need to look for in a person. Again, you can hire anybody from anywhere to check a box. But what we want to get someone who's aligned with their passion, their purpose. They know what their purpose is in your business, right? They're passionate about whatever they get to do in your business. And of course, that they have the proficiency to do it. And if you can kind of hit all three of those things on the who, then you are setting yourself up for long-term collaborative support, not just a person who's going to like check boxes, but someone that you can actually outsource outcomes to instead of just tasks. So you can hand over an entire outcome in your business and say, Sarah, this is now yours because you're passionate about this, you're proficient at it, and you know that your purpose in this business is to help me get from XYZ to here.
Okay, I just have to pause you to unpack that for a minute. I'm watching you on video, so they didn't get to see that, but you're literally unpacking. You said you're delivering the outcome to them. So here is the outcome. And just that change in mindset and verbiage. Okay, that means no micromanagers here. You don't need to know how to do it. You don't need to figure out how to do it before you're actually able to delegate it. So you just have to have the vision, like a true CEO hat. Here's the vision. I want this outcome. And you trust that they have the experience or the I'll figure it out attitude because they're aligned with their purpose, right? And it's collaborative. They know their role. Oh my gosh, brilliant. I just wanted to repeat that. You said it very well. We're always looking at creating this list. And then I think that entrepreneurs get stuck because they're thinking, oh my gosh, do you know how long it's going to take for me to detail this out? Or do I need all the processes and procedures before I hire the assistant? I'm sure you get that all the time.
We do. And there is a part of me that thinks, it is really good for you to document your procedures and your processes, but people even get stuck on that. And I think they make it way harder and way bigger than it has to be. So documenting SOPs looks like downloading a tool off of Chrome called Use Loom, Loom, right? And dragging it across your screen, showing your calendar and saying, this is how I want my air flights booked into my calendar. And then putting that link into a Google spreadsheet. We make it so complicated. The idea of documenting SOPs for your business is just to give your assistant, your EA, VA, support person, whatever, a starting point of the non-negotiables of things that have to happen in order for them to meet your expectations. Eventually, as you build a relationship with them, as they get to know you and your business and sort of the mechanics of how your business works, they'll ad lib. They're going to find shortcuts or different ways or more efficient types of software or tools to do stuff, but you just need to get the non-negotiables down. For me, if it's booking a flight, I don't ever want a red eye. I don't ever want a middle seat, right? I don't want 4 connections when you can get me there with 1 connection because I live in Savannah and it's hard to get anywhere. You just got to get down the non-negotiables and then let them do their job. They want to assist you. So you've got to empower them to be able to do what they've been gifted to do.
Yes. Okay, that's so good. I use Loom as well. It's one of my go-to tools. I use it for communication with my assistant or my team and my clients. Sometimes it's easier to show them something or to record a quick video than to type it out. So yes, I absolutely recommend that program as well. Okay, so we know that we need to identify as that person comes up and bubbles up off of the exercise you gave. What are some do's and don'ts when you make your first hire or your second hire? What are some things that you see entrepreneurs always messing up?
I think the biggest thing that we all mess up, and myself included, so I am like preaching to myself here too, is that we don't set expectations. We don't really know what we want that outcome to look like. We just know we want it done and we don't want to do it anymore. Right? But we don't communicate what success looks like. And if we could just start to communicate that at the very beginning, 2 things happen. We don't hire the wrong person because I think we give people an opportunity to opt out all along the way, right? And if this is not the fit for you, because this is what I expect, then they can sort of self-select and you don't make a bad hire. But once they are hired, if they know what success looks like and you guys have metrics in place to always be sort of measuring back against that, for us, we call those 2-week sprints. We tend to use a methodology developed by Todd Herman called the 90-day year. And so we have this idea, these quick feedback loops of saying, okay, like maybe we messed up. Maybe like we're not on par to hit this goal successfully like we thought we were. And you have an opportunity to pivot. But people don't do that. They don't communicate with their teams. I had a client one time tell me, I never want to have a meeting with my team. Then we're not going to work together because any good company doesn't mean that you are completely abdicating your role as a founder and as a CEO, right? You have to communicate. And so being willing to communicate, knowing what success looks like for you. And if you don't know what success looks like, you have to be okay when problems happen, when there's spilled milk.
Right. When you realize, oh, that wasn't my expectation.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Let's get clear about that. But then maybe use it as a learning opportunity. Now I'm clear. Okay, well, that wasn't success. Now I can reframe that. We are often thinking that the first hire is the best hire, or, you got to get it one and done. Now, I was super lucky. Let me just repeat this, like super lucky. My first hire, she's still with me. But I have done hires since then to build out my team, and multiple hires have had to be made. And I have gone to my business coach and to some peers, and they're like, this is normal. Mm-hmm. Do you find that to be normal as well? Is that sometimes there needs to be multiple hires before you find that person?
One of the biggest challenges with this whole idea of I'm going to find my perfect person right off the bat is that often we're sort of siloing roles. I have a coach who tells me all the time, Trivinia, you're looking for a unicorn. And I was like, I like unicorns.
Aren't we all? I think everyone's listening is probably laughing like, hold on, we can't have a unicorn?
Exactly. But I want one, right? We want someone who's going to do personal tasks and business tasks, and they're okay scheduling my hair appointment, but also editing my podcast. Oh, and also they are a great copywriter too, right? We want that because budgets are tight. We don't have a lot of finances to hire 12 people in 12 different roles. And so I think that's a huge mistake that people make is we try to bucket one person into doing all the things. And then what ends up happening is they become the catch-all. And just like you're not good at all the things, they're not either. So then what we're doing is just creating this opportunity for them to fail over and over and over again until the failures get big enough. And then you say, okay, you're only good at copywriting, so let's stop having you do all these other things. And then you're kind of right back to square one, looking for someone else to schedule your hair appointment.
Yes.
Knowing at the beginning that we cannot have one person doing everything. Figure out what the most important things to get done are, and then hire for that role first.
I am so glad you said that. So as I built out my team, I had one person, Crystal, and she did all the things, right? Yeah. And then as the business grew, I was like, well, if I'm being more strict and purposeful with what my best use of my time is, Crystal, I'm laughing because she's listening right now. She listens to all the podcasts. But Crystal has her zone of genius. And if I'm looking at how I'm paying her as an investment, why would I have her doing things that are not within her pay grade or are not her best things? And so then that's how the team started getting built. And with that one influence, and then the second influence is as the business grew, I had more needs. Yeah. And so then I started looking at, is there someone that I can hire project-based, like a copywriter or a graphic designer? Because she's great at graphic design, but then my need got more and more where it wasn't best use of her time.
One thing that I would encourage anyone who's listening to do with their team, and you can start off at once a year if you get scared about what the outcome of this could be, but at least once a year, ask your team if you could outsource anything of what you do right now, what would it be? And then if you can swing it, figure out a way to let them outsource that thing. Because what that does is it teaches them that you care about their well-being too. You do want them enjoying what they do every day, and that you're willing to support their growth too. One of the things that we do is we allow our team to take 10% of their time. This is my core team, so my employees, not all the contractors that we have, but our employees to take 10% of their week and have paid learning time so that they could go learn. They want to learn to knit? Fine, go learn to knit if that's what you want to do. Because we want them to be exploring and tapping into other creative areas of their brain. And then we also ask them, if you could get rid of one thing, what would it be? My assistant said, it would be your travel, because my travel is complicated and I make it really, really hard. I don't want to spend that much money. Okay, maybe I'll take the red eye. Okay, maybe, so it just drives her crazy. So she's like, if someone else could do that, I would absolutely love it. So we're working on finding someone else to just handle travel. Be willing to ask your team what they love and what they hate doing too, and then figure out a way to get them doing more of what they love. It's a fun exercise, and it allows your team to think like, holy hell, like she really cares about what I'm doing. I'm not just a checker box person here on this team.
Yes, I love that. I've often had that conversation with Crystal as well. And she's so sweet. She's usually like, nope, I got it. You know what I mean? So that's good.
Liar, Crystal, you're listening to this. Pick one thing.
Pick one thing that you cringe when it shows up on your to-do list, please. Yeah, that's great. I think that answered one of my other questions that I had is like, how do you get the most out of your assistant or your hire? And so far, this is what I heard from you. One is have team meetings. And I actually saw a post that you posted on social media and I commented on it. It was about having team meetings and kind of implying people didn't like that. Yeah. I look forward to it. It's like the best time of my week to meet with my team. Yeah. The reason I feel that way is because, first of all, I have amazing people on my team and I meet with them weekly. For me, it's a way to effectively and efficiently like give them ideas and tasks and get them on board. And then they're giving me feedback. And I feel like we leave the meeting and we're both ready to run. Yeah. We take this common goal and we split it up. We all know what we're doing. And then when we meet back the next week and we say, okay, where are we at and what needs to go to the next week, it feels like so much of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't know why it feels that way to me. And other people are like, I dread it. But what are some tips for those people that dread their weekly meetings? Like, what's wrong?
Michael Hyatt, when I was Michael's assistant, he used to call them calibration meetings. And that's really what they are, right? Because like, we got to come back together and just recalibrate. Everybody on the same page? Okay, go, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a little team huddle. If you're a football team, they come back to huddle, they figure out their game plan and then go execute on that. You asked what the role is of the founder in all of this. And I think that you've got to do as a founder 4 things. And to make it easy for you, made them all start with ease. So you've got to equip your team. And this means giving them the tools that they need to do the job. That doesn't mean telling them how to do their job, but it just means giving them access to the best information that you have at your disposal to help them do their job better. So that could look like paying for a project management software that can actually help get the job done. One of my team members wanted to learn Facebook ads better. So I bought Nicholas Kusmich's course for her so that she could learn instead of just being like, Google it, figure it out, right? Let's get them access to the best information. So you got to equip them. You have to encourage them. And for us, that looks like figuring out what their love language is or their language of appreciation. It's a quick little test. And you can figure out, do they need words of affirmation? Do they like gifts? Are they acts of service? Figuring out how they receive appreciation and then giving it to them the way they need it. I am not a gifts person. I don't necessarily like getting gifts. Yay, I got a gift in the mail. But I love giving gifts. And there are people on my team that light up when they get flowers delivered to them or whatever. So I know to do that for them because that's how they feel appreciated. For some people, it's words of affirmation. Yeah. And so it's not the cheesy Starbucks gift card that you give them. It's the words that you write on the card that accompany that cheesy Starbucks gift card that are going to mean the world to them, that they save, that they put on their bulletin board, and that keeps them going. So figure that out because that is your job to encourage them. Not be their cheerleader, but to encourage them. So equip them, encourage them, empower them. So that means you got to kind of back off and let them do their job. I always say assistant is in their middle name. People, let them assist you. Stop being a helicopter CEO and kind of hovering and making sure that you're overlooking every document before it goes out. Empower them to do good work and know that there will be spilled milk. They're going to mess up because you're not perfect 100% of the time either. So empower them. And that could be very much like telling them what success looks like and then letting them go and execute on that. And then the last and final piece actually goes right back to the meetings is to engage with them. There's nothing worse in a VA or executive assistant and founder relationship than a founder who cancels meetings. Because what it does is it tells them that you value your time more than you value theirs. Yes. Right? That your appointment with client B or with the cool coach that you're paying a lot of money to is more important than the time that they're spending and they're carving out of their day to spend with you. And so you've got to engage. And that means sometimes not being vague in what you want them to do. Tell them, engage. If you're not happy with something, tell them what they did wrong and help come up with a solution of how they could do it differently. And if you do those 4 things, you are pretty much guaranteed to have a successful relationship if that fit is there with the personality and proficiency and passion.
Oh my goodness. I love the 4 E's. That was great. I couldn't have asked for more. So that's definitely the best way to get the most out of your relationship with your team. Let's say that we hire an assistant and it's not working out. What are some go-to tips? I'm not trying to set you up, but I have found that some people are really, really hesitant to let people go. And then there becomes this turmoil and stress and becomes very unproductive for everybody.
Part of the reason that we developed kind of the 4E strategy in all of that is that within our business, we place virtual assistants with clients and they do the work together. I'm not hovering and micromanaging that. And what we found was that sometimes we didn't even know there was a problem until there was a really big problem. You've got to communicate with your team when there are mistakes, because sometimes this is what happens. And 99% of you are going to be like, oh crap, I do that. There'll be something that goes wrong. There'll be a spelling error on an Instagram post that they post for you. Or there'll be just something off. The calendar link was wrong and you had to go fumble for it before you got on an interview. And you're like, just let it go. You want to let it go, let it go. But cumulatively, those 8 things over 3 months feels like they're 80 things over 3 months. And then you're pissed off and you're resentful. And then you start really looking at everything they do with a microscope and you start finding problems that weren't even there. And then you're bitter. The key to preventing that is to not complain about every single thing that happened, but to bring those things in your weekly team meetings and just say, hey, I noticed a few spelling errors on Instagram. I went in and I fixed them. So I didn't want to bother you with that. But can we just please make sure that you're just doing a once over on the post? And it doesn't have to be this where they're grounded, right? Like people are like, am I in trouble? No, because you don't want to appear to be that client that's like always just finding stuff wrong. Mention it, no big deal. Let's just carry on. But then when you start to see a pattern, you do need to intervene and you need to say, okay, we're going to come up with a 30-day or a 45 or 60-day plan. And these are my success criteria. And then hold them to that. It'll help the virtual assistant know that kind of they're on notice. They've got to step up their game. But more often than not, I have seen when it starts to fall apart and you have to let somebody go, the VA is actually probably pretty excited that they got let go anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they're feeling it too, right?
Yeah.
There's this disconnect. You don't have the collaboration. You're probably canceling meetings because people that don't like confrontation don't want to be communicating about it. It becomes this big old snowball, right?
Yeah.
I totally get that. And with my clients, I often see that maybe something will come up with one of their employees and I'll know about it as their coach before their employees know. And the reason I know is because they're literally bubbling and stressing. And it's really one of the most unproductive places a business owner can be is having their mind wrapped around this employee that they cringe if it is somebody that works in their office or whatever. Like I've had clients that literally cringe hearing the footsteps of their assistant walking in the door.
Yep. It's time.
It's totally time. And my advice is first look in the mirror. If this is lack of communication or maybe it's lack of training, maybe you asked them to do something and didn't realize there wasn't full training. First, look in the mirror. But if you are doing all those things and you're being the best owner and CEO that you can be, then perhaps it truly is not a fit. And sometimes I feel like the business owner beats themselves up because they know the backstory, the employee's family, and what is this going to do if they're not getting paid? And so it becomes this big thing. And my best advice is to just deal with it head on so that it doesn't happen over this long period of time where no one's happy. And like you said, they're probably ready to go too because they're feeling it.
I would say one other thing, just to wrap that up, in a way that would make it a lot easier, I think, for people when they do need to pull the trigger and make a hard decision like that, is I learned this from a guy named David Bonney, and his company is called Hire to Fit. He helped me create this process we call in our business called the Gauntlet. And it's a 7-stage process that we put anybody through before they can ever be hired to work with us as an employee or as a contractor. What I learned from my experience with him is he said, always hire and fire to values. If you do not know what your values as a company are, figure them out. Even if you're like, oh gosh, I already have an assistant, like I can't backtrack. Yes, you can. Figure out what those values are now and explain them to your team. One of my core values is responsibility. And so this is how we embody responsibility at Priority VA. This is how we embody integrity or service within Priority VA. And then when they're not meeting those values, then you can bring that out. Can you explain to me, Sarah, virtual assistant, how you embodied our value of service when our client was reaching out to you 12 times and you ignored their texts? Can you explain that to me? Because then if you need to fire that person, you can very clearly demonstrate the value that they're neglecting in your business.
Right.
That's just a great way for if you feel really muddy of like, I don't know how to do this without feeling like a douchebag. That's the best way to do it, is hire and fire to values always.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I haven't heard that before, but in my head, I'm envisioning if you don't have values, you don't have that line in the sand that you can say they crossed or they didn't cross.
Exactly.
And for their benefit, when you do let them go, you don't even know why you're truly letting them go other than you're unhappy. But with these values, you can say, unfortunately, this isn't in alignment with my values.
Exactly. And it's not right or wrong. It doesn't mean that they're a horrible person and you're not, or vice versa. It just means that there's no longer a fit. And that's okay. And that it makes it feel better for everyone. And really the best part of that is like you can grow as a person if you're realizing that you're holding people to a standard that is impossible for people to meet. Because I have clients like that too.
Oh, yes.
Please make sure you're not looking for a unicorn all the time.
Yes. If you're going through help after help after help, okay, then now you really need to stop and look in the mirror.
Yes, the common denominator in all of these failures. Yes.
Exactly. All right, this is awesome. So I would love to just close out. If you can just share with us a little bit about your company. If we wanted to work with you, what does that look like? And how do we know when we're ready to work with you? That way we have the right people reaching out to you.
So you're ready to work with us when you're looking for high-level executive support, not task-based support, when you're looking for someone to outsource outcomes to, and you can make an investment of at least 10 hours a week in someone. Not you directly spending 10 hours, but you want them to work in your business for 10 hours or more. We feel like you need that minimum amount of time to get traction, because anything less than that, you can keep your head above water. But to get traction, we need at least 10 hours. People always say, like, how much money do I need to be making? And that's completely up to you. But our best clients make 6 and 7 figures in their businesses already because they can afford it. They look at it as an investment, not an expense. And that's a mindset shift you need to make, whether you're hiring someone from the Philippines or a US-based assistant at higher level. It is an investment in your future, not an expense. This is not keeping the lights on, right? This is an investment in your sanity. And then you find us at priorityva.com. And we actually put together a download for you guys because one of the things that I know founders often struggle with is their inbox. And I learned something from a friend of mine, Taki Moore. Wouldn't it be better instead of having inbox 0, if we could have 0 inbox? And so I kind of went on a mission of, I don't want to have an inbox. Like, I want 0 inbox. Like, how do I do that? And so I really started trying to figure out how to make that happen and tested it in our business. And I don't have an email that I have to check 72 times a day anymore. So that's amazing.
Wow.
And so we created a document to help you figure out how to do that in your business. And we did priorityva.com/straight talk so that you guys can get that methodology as well and maybe implement that in your business.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So the link will be in the show notes and I'll review it again when I do the outro, but I will make sure that I'm the first one to download that. That sounds like a great download. I do want to say that my assistant's been with me for 5 years. I've been in business for 6. So I hired pretty early and it was long before I was at 6 or 7 figures.
Yeah.
And I saw it as an investment. And I also saw it in a choice of my life by design. My part-time assistant made more money than I did the first year she worked with me. IRS numbers right next to each other. She made more money than I took out of my business. And that was a choice. I don't know if business coaches around the world would advise that. I was able to grow quicker and faster. My immediate goal wasn't to be making a whole bunch of money out of my business. I invested a lot of it. And part of reinvesting in my business was making sure that I wasn't working around the clock to hit those goals.
Awesome.
And fast forward, she's still with me. I don't regret it at all. I think it was the best decision I made. I really like that you said it's totally up to you. You don't have to wait till you're 6 or 7 figures. You need to figure out what you can invest. And then my last advice is that you have the investment of your hire 2 or 3 months in savings. Because even if not more than that, because you're not in a place to hire if your income is sporadic, because you can't ethically bring somebody else's livelihood into that. So as long as you're willing to invest and you have consistent income to be able to make the long-term investment, I would say it's up to you when you choose to make that investment in a hire.
One of the things that used to actually be the tagline of my business, don't do it alone, because I think that growing a business can be done by yourself. And there are multiple millionaires who are solopreneurs and they do it all by themselves. And kudos to them. I don't want to be that person. But the majority of us, I think we need that support. We need that therapist. We need that person to do the things we're not good at doing. Make that choice now, whether it's hiring a priority VA, which I mean, hell, like, I would love if you did that, or if it's hiring someone that you find on Craigslist or Upwork or wherever you're going to get some support. Don't do this alone, because the rate at which you can create your dreams into reality is exponentially faster if you bring along support to help you do the things that you were not created to do. Don't do this piece alone, and get help. Barter if you need to. There's so many different ways that we can bring in support to get you where you want to go.
There is. Now, I don't usually do this as in depth when someone has a service to provide, but I think it's such an alignment with my audience. One of the things that I saw that you did so differently than if you go to Upwork or all these other places is that your company truly vets them, trains them. Give us a little outline of if someone wanted to work with you, why is it so much better to work with, and I'll put those words out there, you don't have to say that, but why is it so much better to work with your company, and how are you providing this VA support that's different than maybe overseas support or Upwork or that kind of thing?
The differentiating factor for us, as opposed to any other VA company out there or going independent and finding your own support, is that we've created a really amazing family of virtual assistants. We have 89, I think, of them with us right now, who they've got their own little private Facebook group, right? So one of the things that I feel it's important for me to do is to encourage, equip, engage, empower them, right?
Yes.
And so that is our role. We're kind of this umbrella organization for them to give them all of those things that they might not necessarily get from you. They might not get equipped to learn ClickFunnels when you say, I don't want to be on lead pages anymore. Let's go to ClickFunnels. And they're like, holy cow, I don't know what to do, right?
Yes.
So we provide them the training that allows them to then come and support you in that way. So I think that's a huge differentiating factor. Another thing, honestly, I brag about it because I'm just really proud about it. We pay our team what they're worth. I think I've worked for companies and I have colleagues that own companies that, they have great margins, amazing, sometimes 60% margins in their business. And that's great for them. But I am very passionate about paying people a living wage. And so all of my team, they make good money for what they do. That's really important. And that's a differentiating factor, I think, for some people.
Absolutely.
So, and then I'd say the final thing that we do is we train our people. I don't teach them how to be a VA. I teach them how to be a better VA. And that's really what we want to do. I don't want to have this like startup training company where if someone worked at Target and they want to become a virtual assistant. That is not what I do. I take people that have existing amazing skill sets that have come from corporate jobs like Oppenheimer or the Dave Ramsey Foundation or other places like that. And now they want to be able to utilize those skills there, but at home. And it's different to do that at home than it is in a corporate setting. And so we just up-leveled their game continuously. And I think that's what has allowed us to stand out in the market.
Absolutely. For all of us online business owners, every time you blink your eyes, there's a new program or, that you need to know, like you reference ClickFunnels, and then you blink your eyes and it's something else. And so I thought one of the biggest values is, as a business owner, I always feel like I'm always having to learn something new and new and new. If I were to partner with you, the example would be, I just need to know that it's better and that it can do this thing. And then I know that your team is going to make sure they know that thing.
We've purchased the full digital marketer suite of trainings for our VAs. They can learn about SEO and Facebook ads and community management and all of that stuff. We have a member of our team going through the Ask Method certification process right now to be able to do the Ryan Levesque bucket funnel type things. We do other weird things too. Like I bought my team a subscription to ConBody, which is an online workout thing that they can do so that they can stay in shape, right? Because we sit on our butts all day. So we try to do things like that to really build a great culture and community for them too. So yeah, it's fun.
All right. Well, that's awesome. With that being said, I think that you have been a wonderful guest and shared so much value with us. And thank you so much for investing your time with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
I loved my chat with Trivinia, and I hope you loved it as much as I did. It was so insightful and a conversation that really I couldn't wait to have, because as I have built my team, I think that there's a lot of hesitation and unknowns and what's the best way of going about it. And so that's why I wanted Trivinia on the show, is so that I could ask her all those questions to demystify the complication of really building your team with high-level virtual assistants. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk. But I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So, based on what you learned today, based on what you heard Trivinia and I chatting about, what will you take action on? Perhaps you clicked on this episode because you're like, yes, I need to hire a virtual assistant. Or perhaps you clicked on it based on just pure curiosity that you may have been telling yourself you weren't ready for it. But after hearing this conversation, you might be ready to take the leap in hiring the right person to grow your business and find leverage through delegating to others. Whatever it was for you today, I want you to take a few moments and get crystal clear about what were your takeaways, what were your ahas, and don't just stop there. How are you going to take action on those breakthroughs? To share your actionables and receive support, guidance, and motivation from entrepreneurs just like you, I would love for you to join us on the inside of our private Facebook community, Productivity Straight Talk. If you're not already a member, you can join us for free by going to productivitycommunity.com. And if you are already a community member, I can't wait to hear from you. What were your takeaways? What did you like? And what are you going to do moving forward in your business with regards to building your team? I would like to take this time to thank you so much for helping me grow Productivity Straight Talk. And yes, I'm talking to you. If you're listening to this episode and you know of someone that could benefit from it, I would love for you to share it with others. You are sharing the gift of improved productivity, maximize profits, and you know what? Also having time for what matters most. And I honestly, maybe I'm a little biased, can't think of a better gift to give someone. So please feel free to share this episode with others. I have a special thank you going out to Marvelous Mark Camp, who recently said, "Beauty and the Beast. Amber is fierce in her approach with no BS. Just like a rock star, her content is original, useful, and entertaining. They say we learn from our mistakes, but I would rather learn from other people's mistakes. Or learn from the experts like Amber or other professionals she interviews. Bring it on." Thank you so much, Marvelous Mark. I appreciate those words of encouragement and, reflection back, because my goal really is to give you a no BS approach to improving your productivity and growing your business. Sounds like that's what I'm doing for you, Mark. So thank you for the shout out. Well, that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week.